How's it going, everybody? My name is Redacted, or at least my gamer tag is, and I've been playing World of Warships for, I think, 4.5 years or so now. I started in January of 2020, right when the game, or a little bit after the game had come out. And for those of you who don't know me, I love talking tactics. Those of you who do know me probably hear me talk about it too much, but I wanted to start a YouTube channel just to kind of share my thoughts and how I approach the game, and hopefully my knowledge is useful to you. Now, that being said, I am not the perfect player. I make mistakes, and I would like to learn as well. So, for the super unicorns out there and whoever else has feedback, I'd love to hear it in the comments. I want to grow as a player as well. So, this is a channel that I want to be for the community to grow as a whole. That being said, I think that fleet battles seems like the most natural place to start. For those of you who haven't played it, it is so much fun. I would highly recommend it. It's 5v5. You need to be a part of a fleet, and your fleet has to queue together to get into it. There are a few restrictions, like one battleship per team, and I think it's the most competitive game mode currently. Now, I want to outline the video before I get too deep into rambling here, and the first thing that I will talk about is team composition. How do you select a team? Do you play with 3 cruisers, 1 DD, and 1 battleship? Do you play with 2 destroyers, 2 cruisers, 1 battleship? What's the best meta that's currently in the game right now as of, I guess August 31st is when I'm recording this video in 2024. So I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about ship selection. How do you balance your team? How do you set your team up for the best success before you even leave port, And then after that, we'll talk about early game positioning, and then I'll get into a gameplay and show my fleet in action and how we make decisions, and we'll position to put ourselves and set ourselves up for the most success throughout the game. So with that being said, I think it's time to talk about team composition. Currently, the meta really is defined by radar, in my opinion. I think that if we couldn't take out 5 radar ships, having 2 destroyers would be very strong. But because you can take out 5 radar ships, you will often face 5 radar ships, and going out with 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers can be very challenging because those destroyers could be radared for like 2 minutes straight, even more than that really. But yeah, it's not fun. I think that the current meta really just supports the 3 cruisers, 1 battleship, 1 destroyer. Occasionally you'll see some other comp out there like 4 destroyer, or 4, not 4, well, you could see that, but you'll see like 4 cruisers and 1 battleship, and occasionally you'll see something crazy like 5 Jaegers. But as far as for adapting and playing the best teams, you do want to take out 1 battleship, 3 cruisers, and 1 destroyer. So let's talk about selecting ships here. I have a lot to cover. I'm going to try to cram it into a short time so that you don't have to watch like an hour-long video. But with battleships, I really prefer consistency. I really want to emphasize this. You want your shells to really count whenever someone makes a mistake. People in this game type in fleet battles are generally above the average skill level of this game, and so whenever they make a mistake, they will know to get out of that quite quickly, and you need your salvos to pay off. So you want consistency with your guns. That means that you want probably 9 shells, a minimum of 6 shells in the air. That means that playing something like Georgia I don't recommend it, actually. I think it's probably in the top 5 of ships that you would take out, but really having 6 shells, you can get some very inconsistent performance, and what happens is you miss opportunities. That's why a ship like the Missouri or the Alabama or the Massachusetts is something that I favor. I also want to make sure to highlight that survivability is part of that consistency that you're looking for in a battleship. If it does not have at least 30mm plating, you're going to have a lot of cruisers that have HE that are going to be pinning you consistently and doing lots of damage. Something like the Borodino, it might sound great, has that 11.7 Russian radar, but it has very weak armor and it doesn't stay in the fight. If you need it to go and to really hold down an objective and trade HP over a long period of time, it ends up just getting nuked by the enemy. It doesn't matter if it's a cruiser or a battleship, it just gets chunked continuously. So make sure whenever you're selecting a ship that you select it for consistency of not just its guns, but its survivability, its armor. That being said, I've already mentioned them, but I will say, again, I recommend the Missouri, the Massachusetts, and Alabama in that order. You can take out ships like the John Bart or Atlantico because they are just that good. But as far as staying competitive, being in the game, you really want that American battleship capability. A lot of people are going to say the Lenin is something that you want to take out there, but I really do think that good players are going to knock out your guns quite consistently, and also good players are going to set fires, and you will be burning your damage cons quite quickly. You do play against the best players, and they know the weaknesses of your ship inside and out, and they will take full advantage of it. One last little point here. I do want to say that positioning of a battleship is more important than your ship selection. Ship selection is something that is going to get you part of the way there. But positioning, I see so many players in fleet battles make this mistake. They're in a battleship, they're like, I need to tank damage for my team. You should tank damage whenever you should be trading HP, and that is not very often. There are many times whenever I see a battleship in the open, spotted by a DD, and he's just getting spammed by all the cruisers in the game that are playing against him, and he's not able to take shots on anyone. Stay concealed when you are in a battleship. Engage whenever you can take shots, disengage whenever you can't. There are exceptions to that, but let me say it, the best teams, their battleship players are going to have a healthy amount of hit points at the end of the game if they can control the game how they want to, you know? That being said, we'll jump into cruisers now. I know I gave my big spiel about battleships. I'll try to keep this a little bit shorter. With the team comp that we talked about earlier, that's 3 cruisers. You have some ability to have some customization. You can take out a cruiser that isn't a radar cruiser because you already have 2 other radar cruisers. For radar cruisers, I would make sure to have an 11-7 if you can. The Prince Bagration, the Azurlane Chapayev, those are the 2 best cruisers right now for that 11-7. If you don't have either of those, the Riga or the regular Chapayev or maybe even the Ochkov are good options. The point of that, though, is you want to build for concealment so that you have under 11-7 detectability. That means that if you get spotted and you're not firing your guns, you can radar that enemy DD or cruiser that is spotting you. It's a very important part of the game. I'll talk more about stealth detection in a different video, stealth radar, but just know that at least have 1 stealth radar ship on your team, and it's very easy to do that with a Russian cruiser. The second cruiser could be a Russian cruiser. They're the way to go. But I like my team to take out an American cruiser. You get a 30-second, 9-kilometer radar with pretty much all of them, and I want it to be able to shoot fast. That means it can be the Wichita, the Baltimore, the Cleveland, the Montpellier, the Azurlane ship. It doesn't really have the range, but occasionally I will see one of those. But really, those 3 are the big ones, or you take out 2 radar Russian cruisers. And then lastly, a lot of people will take out a 3rd radar cruiser here. I don't have an issue with that. But if you have a Mainz on your team, it's one of the best cruisers in the game. It is the Swiss Army knife of cruisers, and I like running a Swiss Army knife as that 3rd cruiser whenever I'm playing the game. That means that I can go contest caps, I can fight battleships, I can brawl. I don't want to be engaged over a long period of time, over a medium to long distance. But if I need to in my Mainz, I can go and brawl, I can go win engagements. No one wants to push a Mainz in close quarters combat. Lastly, let's talk about destroyers. The words of wisdom for me on destroyers is you prioritize concealment, utility, and effectiveness at trading damage, or in other words, effectiveness at staying alive whenever you have to engage another destroyer, or a cruiser even. And the Loyang is my top choice for this for Tier 7 fleet battles. There are good alternatives, that have good utility and can trade damage, like the Lightning and the Black. But really, the Loyang is the king of these. It has a small profile. It can dodge very easily. It's agile, and of course, it has that radar, or not the radar, the hydroacoustic that is like a radar. You can detect, I think, at 5.4 kilometers. Not positive. I should refresh on that. It's something I should know off the top of my head, but it's late at night here. But anyways, the important thing about the Lightning, the Black, and the Loyang is that they can trade damage effectively, they can disengage with their smoke screens, and they all have their own unique utility. For those of you that don't know, the Lightning has a 3-minute sonar, and it may not be a long-range sonar, but it's very important to be able to pick up torpedoes for your team while you're shadowing the enemy DD. The Black has the radar and the long smoke screen, and then the Loyang has the long smoke screen and the good hydroacoustic. People will often take out Jaegers and other like IJN port boats, and I really do think this is a mistake. If you land a couple of torps, great for you, but the most effective thing that you can do is be a menace for the enemy DD to make them think twice about pushing different areas, and the best way to do that is to be a DD that effectively trades damage. Lastly, destroyers don't need to do a lot of damage. Great if you land some torps, great if you dev strike somebody, but the most important thing that you are doing is you are communicating with your team. You are in a position where you can let your team know where everyone is. If you have twist and track, so that you can get the located detector, that's great. Let them know where the enemy DD is. Shadow that DD. Contest the capture points. Be the support. Be the person who spots. Be the person who captures. Be the person who communicates for the rest of the team. One last little note here for destroyers that I want to throw in. I think it's very important. You need to respect radar, but you can't be afraid of radar. It's very important for you to know when an enemy team has used radar, and the only way to do that is to be in the radar detection zone. Know how to dodge shots when you are radared. Don't be close to a radar ship, be on the edge, but know whenever a radar has come out. All the time I see players that see an American cruiser that has a 9 kilometer radar, and they play at 10 kilometers or 9.5 kilometers. And then they are so much less effective because they never know when that radar has been used, if it has been used. If you know when the radar has been used, that means that you know when you can be aggressive. So just a reminder for DD players there: play aggressive. Don't get yourself killed, but know when a radar has been used and know the timing of when it will come back, and you can be so much more effective for your team. So to summarize, battleship players focus on consistency, consistent guns, consistent armor, consistent ability to just stay in the fight, consistent ability to punish whenever a mistake is made on that first salvo. And then for cruisers, I didn't say this earlier on, but you want to be a patient player. You don't have to make it happen right then. Take out stealth radar if you can do it. Take out a Swiss Army knife cruiser if your team has one. Be patient, read the game, let it come to you. And then for destroyers, support the team. Don't worry about doing damage yourself. If it happens, it happens. But the main thing that you want to do is get intel for your team, communicate for your team, support the team, use your utility to best support the team. So we've covered team composition and ship selection. Now let's talk about early map positioning. I think it's such an essential part of fleet battles because map control wins you games. So we are on Sleeping Giant here. I selected this map for drawing this out simply because it's part of the gameplay. It's the same map that the game plays on. But my goal is not to show you how to play Sleeping Giant, be the best Sleeping Giant players. It's to teach how to read a map and position. So the objective of a DD player, the primary objective is not to capture points. That's a secondary objective. They should be doing that whenever they can. But specifically, this is a good map to showcase. Don't do that in Thunderdome. Thunderdome is, mini enter. If you leave as a DD player, you are not doing your primary objective whenever you're in the Thunderdome. You are not spotting ships, and you are putting yourself in great risk to die. If a cruiser pushes the outside over here or something, and you're in there, you're probably going to die. So, once again, even if your team is saying cap the point, your goal is to first get intelligence data and set up your team for success. You cannot do that from inside the Thunderdome. There are several other maps where you should not be contesting the point because you'll just be contesting the point from behind an island the whole game, and you're not doing your primary goal of getting data and intelligence for your team. So this DD comes out here early, specifically just on this map because that's how you get the spots of these lanes. Get early spots whenever you can for your team. Contest points whenever you can. Contest points and spot for your team. But if you are just hiding behind an island and contesting a point and just sitting there, you're not contributing anything other than just being a ship on the water. So let's move this DD out here. Sorry, I can't rotate him, but you probably don't want to be positioned exactly like this, especially because cross torps can come for you there, and it's very easy to get hit, or you turn in and then get radared. Sorry, you turn in and then you get radared early, and their whole team shoots at you. So make sure that you just position as a DD to get early intelligence, and if you can contest or capture a point, do it, but make sure you're doing that while getting intelligence early. And also set yourself up for success by knowing when the enemy team has used radar. So often I will see DDs sit like out here during a game because the radar extends to here, The best way to play a DD is to know when the radar has been used, and the only way that you can know that is being in the range, unless you have somebody else that's getting radar. But bait radars, dodge their shots, play at the max range of the radar, but know when the radar has been used because then you can be more aggressive. Okay, now let's talk about cruisers. This map, I will say, plays a little bit different for cruisers than normally. So I will position my cruisers on this map whenever I draw it out, but it's not the most common way to play cruisers. The important thing for cruisers is to set up crossfires and to seal the edges of the map. Make sure that you are positioned so that if a DD is pushing, you can shut that down. That usually ends up with a cruiser out here wide and a cruiser out here wide on different maps, but that's not this map, so we'll move these guys back to spawn for just a second. We'll say that those are the two radar ones. On this map, my team moved the radar cruisers over here. Normally, you don't want radar cruisers to play on top of each other because then their radar is covering less area as a whole. If one was out here, he could cover this area, and this one over here could cover that area with their radar. But specifically on this map, we made the call to put the radar cruisers together. It is actually quite nice because if the radar can extend out to here, this is where the DD's playing. You can't hit them. They also can have like 50 total seconds of radar while they're defending this B capture point. So specifically on this map, they're not playing farther on the edges and sealing the edges quite as much. But like I said, I don't want you to just be a sleeping giant expert. I want you to be able to read the map. So um, cruiser players, it is so essential for them to be patient. Let the game come to them. Don't force anything. So often you see cruiser players overplay. They try to make a play, and then they're exposed, and they get punished for it, and you lose because of their lack of patience. Be patient as a cruiser player. Your goal is to do damage over time. You don't have to win it in the first 3 minutes. You don't have to win it in the first 10 minutes. Win it in 15 minutes. So keep yourself alive, play patient, support your team, trade your hit points whenever you have to, but don't just go out there looking for the DD because you have nothing else to do. So specifically, whenever you're crossing early here too, we'll say that's the 11-7 radar. Whenever you come in shallow and turn out, you can radar early and sometimes pick up the DD. Little pro tip on this map specifically, but a lot of times as cruisers, you want to take it slow, read the game, figure out where their battleship is before you engage. Get early shots, support your DD2 as you're crossing here. This third cruiser, we'll call this the Swiss Army Knife cruiser. That could be a radar cruiser for many teams. For my team, I like to play it as the Mainz, but you could have it be a Bagration or a Weimar or something else in there that is effective at multiple things. So anyways, this guy will play over here. Like I said, once again, normally they're sealing the edges. Normally they're not pushing up here, but specifically this map is slightly different. The key things to remember as a cruiser player: position that you seal an edge and you mitigate damage. You don't want to be in open water where you can take shots from everybody. Be in a position where you can use your armor to trade minimal hit points and also be in the fight, and preferably shoot from undetected positions, so that you can farm without really any real risk to yourself. Lastly, let's talk about the battleship. I might get some flack from the community on this, but I really do think that battleships should be in positions where they can be undetected most of the game. There is a time and a place to take damage, to trade your HP, but really you get farmed so quickly in these games because you get lit on fire and everything. And I have a battleship main on my team. His name is Rival. He's actually in the gameplay. He knows how to trade his HP so effectively. He doesn't just go out there and throw it away. He's not in open water, spotted by the DD. If he's playing here and he's spotted by the DD, he can get torped. He can get shot at by cruisers over here. That's not being an effective battleship player. Play from a place where you can disengage whenever you want to. Choose your engagements. It is so valuable for a battleship player to not be spotted, because if you play against an impatient cruiser, they will make mistakes. Sorry, I'm using too many tools here. But say that there's a cruiser here and he's like, well, I don't have anything to shoot at. I don't see this battleship. I'm going to go around and hunt the DD. He comes out here to try to radar the DD and get shots at him, or he comes over here to try to radar the DD and get shots at him. The battleship player that is playing effectively either here at this island or even more effectively over here, they can push up in a moment's notice, get involved in the game, get their guns out. They can probably chip, maybe even dev strike that cruiser. Be a battleship player that chooses how you engage. Always be able to support your team too. If you have a battleship player that's over here, these cruisers are so exposed. Kind of mess this up a little bit, but the battleship player should be in a position where they can support every player of their team. That might mean that you're playing a little bit off over here. Specifically this map, you don't want to do that, but all I'm saying is choose when you are engaged. Choose whenever you take your shots to be spotted and to be taking damage. Choose when to trade your HP. And also, choose to position yourself to support your team. Be that consistent player that is going to be there at the end of the game whenever your team needs you. Be that consistent player that is there at all times for crossfire, to support your cruisers, to support your destroyer. Don't just hide. Be undetected, but be in a position where you have shots. It's a very nuanced thing, but it is so important, and it really is what sets the best players apart. Anyways, I'll move them back. I'll move him back up here. And I think I already drew this, but maybe I didn't. This is how you disengage. You just break the line of sight with the DD here. You can go back forward at a moment's notice, but you have the supporting fire. If your cruisers get pushed out here, take shots across, If your DD's taking fire from the DD, push up and shoot the DD there. The battleship players should be positioned so that they have the support of their team, that they are there, that they can punish. They may take only, 10 salvos in a game, but those 10 salvos need to be the most effective. Okay, so jumping into the gameplay here, I want to talk about ship selection just very briefly. We have a Plymouth on our team. That takes the place of the stealth Russian radar cruiser. That 11.7 radar becomes a 9.9 radar, but it is much longer. The Plymouth, unfortunately, only shoots AP. It is the British short fuse AP. And the reason that I didn't suggest it in the videos above is because good players are going to angle well against it, and your damage is going to be very much cut short. You don't start fires. Really, you give yourself a little bit of a handicap. Ross is a very good player. I trust him to make good decisions. He wanted to take the Plymouth out this time. I think it was a good decision, but it's not a ship that I would necessarily recommend for everyone to use, and that's why I didn't mention it. You can see on the gameplay here that I have a larger mini-map, and the reason that I have that, and hopefully you can see my highlights and stuff as I draw on the screen, but the reason that I do that is because really the core of fleet battles and what this video needs to be about is being able to read the minimap and understand what's going on. My gameplay is not a great gameplay, actually. I make mistakes in this battle that I probably wouldn't normally make, but I think it is a great highlight of the strengths of playing together as a team, of positioning well and selecting ships. And that's kind of what this video is about. It's an introduction to fleet battles. So it's not me trying to show off my gameplay and say that I'm the best player or anything like that. It's me trying to show what good positioning and good ship selection does. So as you can see, Jaw breaks. He's in our destroyer. He's pushing the middle of the map here. And his goal is to just get intel. He doesn't really want to engage the enemy DD yet. He wants to make sure that he has the best positioning, the best support before he engages. What you will see here in the Prince Bagration is the first ship spotted. I don't take shots here just because I want to stay a little bit undetected. I don't want them to know what is over here. I want them to be guessing about it. I do pick up the located marker, so I am currently located, and now the DD is spotted. So what I was saying there real quick is just I don't want to take shots even if they know I'm over here, so that they might think that it's a DD or something. But as my DD gets spotted, it's my duty as a teammate to always shoot at the enemy DD. They're the most important piece on the map as far as my team's playing around trying to kill them. So we always take shots at DDs. It's a very rare situation where you won't take that shot. I do 1,000 damage. It's not a lot, but it really is because it's probably about 1/20th of his health. And that early engagement wasn't really one that Jaw was trying to pick, but it did happen because that DD was playing so far forward. They've been able to disengage, and I made kind of a gamble here pushing around the side. The battleship has not been spotted yet, and if that John Bart was over here, I could be in some pretty serious trouble. I am in a mine, so I can probably kill him as he kills me, but it is a little bit of a gamble of a play. But my educated guess was because that Bagration was pushing this side, and just because of how fleet battles play, that John Bart's probably not going to be pushing into the Thunderdome with me, or around the side. So I push up here, I'm getting the capture points. Now they're going to be behind on a capture zone. They cannot detect me right now. I'm getting free shots, free fires on a couple of their ships. And once again, I just want to highlight the positioning of these cruisers, this battleship, and this DD. All of them are currently unspotted. I'm unspotted. Jaw is getting information. That means that the only information that they have is that there's a DD mid, there's a cruiser in the A-cap. They might know the general positions of my team, but they can't shoot at us right now. They're not doing any damage. Jaw is giving us great information about where they're positioning and what kind of plays they might be trying to set up. As you can see, this cruiser is pushing around the side. I do pop my Hydra here just because the natural timing of the game. I realize that the Prince Bagration would be pushing around the corner by here. This Hydra here is not to check for torpedoes or anything. It's simply to hold him in place. If I know where he is, most smart players are going to sit there and wait it out. They're going to try to figure out a way to make the engagement work better for them. Unfortunately, this means that I will be detected. I think currently I'm spotted by the DD, but I will be detected by him as he has his hydroacoustics going as well. What that means is that their cruisers can take shots over the top at me over here, But luckily for me, they're missing. They may not have the range. If they were taking effective fire, I would have to probably push away. I also have this large island right here that is covering me from the John Bart, which is picked up. I also would like to say this John Bart's positioning is very ineffective for his team. He needs to be able to take shots at cruisers. He is in this position to shoot the DD and maybe the battleship, but he cannot hit this cruiser, or myself right now. He could back up potentially and or reposition and shoot into this A capture zone, and that is something I need to be aware of. But it is something that he needs to be aware of as a battleship player is can he be in a position there he is effectively able to shoot at most players while also being unspotted. And I think that's one of the failures of Coalition's positioning here. And I do not want to highlight their play on this map. I want to highlight my team's. Coalition is a good team, and I have nothing but respect for them. I picked this gameplay specifically because of how it played out in our map control and just using the strengths of what I talked about. And once again, not because of my gameplay exactly. My whole goal right here is to be supporting the team. You can see that this cruiser over here has tried to make a play. He has rival shooting at him with his Massachusetts, and he has both cruisers hitting him. He's felt like he had to make a play because they're losing on capture points. He thought he could contest the B capture zone or maybe even catch that the destroyer in the gap there. And once again, my team has responded effectively. This early map control made him overplay, and he took shots from 3 players, which is never going to turn out well for a cruiser. Sorry, there's a lot going on, so I'm trying to cover it all. But you can see that this cruiser now is forced to engage. They're down a ship, they're down on caps, they're down on points, of course, and they're down on spotting. That destroyer has been really nullified by Jawbreaks' play, and now he's back over on this side. And once again, who is he spotting from right here? He's not spotting anybody, he's not gathering intel, and it's because of the support from the battleship, the good play from Jaw, we got early shots on him, and then the cruiser threat of being radared if he's playing over here. So now this Prince Bagration is engaging. I gave way too much broadside there, and I was punished for it. I took 15,000 hit points, and what I did was specifically put those torpedoes behind him. That was on purpose. That was to force him to commit to this engagement. He's been in and out, and I wanted to take this engagement on at this point in the battle, especially if he's going to sail like that. So I put the torpedoes behind him. He had to keep going. He had to stay flat, and he lost the large majority of his hit points. Little things like that are very important whenever you're playing this cruiser that has a lack of radar, but it is very good at brawling, such as the Mainz, and your Swiss Army knife cruiser can't have a radar as well, but the Mainz is specifically so good at what it does in positions like that. That's almost an impossible battle for that player to win. And you can see that I have the majority of my hit points still left because I was able to just engage with my rear guns. I had my torpedoes. And really, the engagement was never in his favor once he had to enter the Thunderdome, with the Mainz. But I'll fast forward through a lot of the rest of this gameplay here. And while the gameplay ends, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this first video on the channel. I am sure that the production quality will only increase as I learn how to edit videos better. And I hope that my ability to communicate my ideas, my thoughts, my tactics, my strategies, all of that comes through better as I just continue to produce content. That being said, I'd like to know what you guys would like to see. Would you like more fleet battles? Would you like to do just general tactics and play? I find myself to be quite comfortable in a lot of positions. I think that destroyers are one of the most fascinating positions in the game, and I do plan to make a video quite soon on destroyers. But yeah, please let me know in the comments below. I think that the common YouTube thing is to like the video and subscribe. I would love if you did that. I really love playing this game, and I like sharing my ideas with you all. So once again, thank you for watching the video. Have a good one. See ya.